Welcome back. In my last episode, I finally got my first job as a Sanuki manager in the J3 League. And now we're going to go over the staff members that I've had to hire and get rid of, the players I've had to sort of sign for the team, as well as a couple of extra special signings and a look at my overall squad before my first game. And without further ado, let's dive in. Looking at the staff that I had when I joined in, originally I said that I might make a few tweaks, but when I joined Sanuki, I realized that I was missing a few pieces, which I think were crucial if I was to be any kind of success at Sanuki. Part of that was the fact that with regards to scouting, I only had a director of football. I had no scouts, not even a chief scout. So I went on, I tried to find a couple of scouts. I was only able to find 2, and I couldn't sign any as a chief scout for now. With regards to the coaching staff, I realized that their stats were very poor. Even the goalkeeping one was very poor. So I had to, find a few, get rid of a few. I'm not going to go over them in too much detail, but I'm hoping looking by the stats, I'm hoping I've improved them. And last but not least, with regards to our physios, I only had a sports scientist. I need a couple of physios. I can't just have just the one guy. So yeah, that's with regards to staff. Moving on, tactics. So looking at the squad originally, I noticed that we had a lot of defenders. As a result, I decided that it would be a good idea to play a defensive formation, especially as some of the center backs that I had can also play as defensive mid. So I've gone for a 4-3-3 with wider wingers on the sides, a single striker, 2 center midfielders, and a defensive mid with 4 at the back. With that said though, it was very clear that, especially according to the influential players in my team, that I was in need of a couple of central midfielders. I will admit that during the transfer period at the beginning, which still hasn't closed, but I just approached my first game of the season, I did struggle to find decent central midfielders that I would be happy signing. So I've had to resort to signing a few loanees, which I'll just show you briefly. I have got here. So basically, the 3 midfielders that I've picked up on loan have been Sho Sumida, Takeaki Harigaya, Kohei Teramura. Those are the 3 that I've signed. Moving on from the midfield, even though I've signed a few young promising strikers, I did feel the need to bring in on loan some other striker options, which were, perhaps more established, maybe even slightly older, that I can just sort of, plug in and hopefully get a couple of goals when I need them. And these include John Pedersen, Tsubasa Ando, who can also play on the left wing, and Ryosuke Tamura. So hopefully, they can bang in a few. I also decided to bring in a second keeper to compete with my current keeper and captain, Takahashi. I do wonder whether Takahashi has, peaked from his career and he might start to go down. And I thought it would be a good idea to, keep some competition, give this guy a couple of games, see how Takahashi reacts. Hopefully he takes it the right way. And to be honest, this guy who's a couple of years younger than him did look like on average he was slightly better. So hopefully it doesn't take it too at heart. It's Tomohito Shugyo. And last but not least, we arrive at my star signing in Attila for a grand spanking value of £6,000. Even smashed the club's transfer record with this one. This guy's been considered a coup for the club, obviously breaking the record and everything. I even had a press conference all about him. At 21 years of age, playing at right back, he was flagged by my scout as, having the right qualities to become a normal J2 league player, as well as already being a very good J3 league player as it stands. So, definitely good for my team. The only problem, obviously, is the fact that he would be the only Brazilian in the squad. And I've been quite reluctant to sign non-Japanese players purely on the language aspect. Obviously, I know that in the game that you can send them on intensive language courses, but I kind of want people that can just, plug them in and not have to worry about the language. In trying to sign him, I had to actually talk to him first about promises that he would like me to keep. Some of those included that he must be played in his preferred role, which was the inverted wingback role. I must bring in somebody else to help him settle. I must sign more attacking players. He tells me that he's using my club as a stepping stone, and thus a minimum fee release clause must be included in the contract, and that a percentage of the sell-on value is made payable to him. So talk about demanding, yeah? Now, I decided, since it was the first time that I was dealing with this type of player, that could elevate the club's reputation and so on, I decided to take on the challenge, see if I could adhere to all of his promises and possibly get the most out of him, right? And, maybe reignite the fans' ambition and passion to not just be a J3 mid-table club. The one key problem I had with all of his requests, or not problems, I would say more like challenges, yeah, is who do I bring in, right? Like, it's been difficult enough to find a player of a nation outside of Japan that I've felt is suitable for the club. Now, how do I find another player that's suitable to the club and Brazilian in this case, yeah? So I decided to ask him, who do you suggest? He didn't take him long to tell me that he wants to bring in one particular individual in mind, and that was Adriano Jr. And Adriano Jr. is a attacking left midfielder, right? Who, looking at it, he does possess decent stats, and because Attila was there already, he was open to move. He did make a few demands, which I found a bit odd. He wanted to be brought in as a star player. To me, I was like, look, I've dealt with Attila, I've succumbed to his demands, but Adriano, I can't do this again right now. So I had to kind of just push him down from his demands from being a star player to being like a regular first team player. And, that he has to prove that he is a star player because, didn't quite tell him this, but I only signed Adriano because, Attila told me to. Not because I found him or felt that I needed him in left wing, yeah? Well, hopefully he can bang in a few. So yeah, that's my squad for the season, more or less. And yeah, so just before we sort of go into my first game of the league, I've had a couple of friendlies. We've lost 2-0 against the J2 team. My first team versus reserves, the first team won 5-0 as well, but that was just an inter-squad friendly. And here, looking at my squad, you can kind of see that I've improved a couple of aspects in my team, especially the midfield, which I didn't have anything. And you can see that 3 of my low-knee players are starring in the ball-winning midfielder and centre mid roles. I do have Attila on the inverted wingback as a second runner to Kanai, but Attila is going to start for sure. I've got Adriano on the left wing, who surprisingly is my best left winger at the club for now, according to my assistant manager. And up front, I've got a few options. I also have a few on the bench, and in the keeper as well, I've got Takahashi as a secondary. I even have a Imamura as a third as well. And yeah, so let's go on to my first game of the league.